Live from iRacing's virtual Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, otherwise known as Mosport, welcome sim racing fans to the Next Level Racing official F3 Championship live on RaceSpotTV. Happy that all of you could join us on this beautiful Friday afternoon, wherever you're tuning in around the world. I'm your host, Joshua Lee. Alongside me in the commentary booth is Lorenzo Bonder. And Lorenzo, we come to what is a little bit of a wild card track when it comes to these F3 cars. Canadian Tire Motorsports Park is used for a lot of different series. We've seen the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series here before in the past, but these F3 cars are in a little bit of a different world when it comes to this track, especially compared to the rest of the calendar.
Yeah, I think from all tracks we've seen this season, they've been tackling mostly flat tracks. I think the only big difference might be Suzuka and Watkins Glen, but I think the two first corners are the difference maker this season, aside with Moss Corner, because it is basically a roller coaster. You go down basically a little bit of a banked hill, and then you go up and down into a blind left-hander. So it's going to be a really tricky first lap for basically all drivers. How they position themselves around the track will be a challenge for sure.
And whichever drivers can get that start best are going to be the drivers that are up front. We've seen that before in this series. We've seen it this year. We've seen it in past seasons. But these F3 cars, specifically when it comes to this circuit, they're in for a bit of a challenge. It's one of those circuits where these F3 cars, you don't really know what's going to happen. We haven't seen it on the calendar in the last couple of seasons of the F3 Championship. So they're definitely in a world unlike what we have seen so far. And this track, like you mentioned, all the challenges of the track, but challenges with the car as well going around this track. It's not exactly a track that is exactly fit for F3 competition.
No, it is not, and it's very hard to put into words what kind of race fits right here. Of course, we see this track being used at NIMSA, and it sounds a little bit weird to see multi-class racing on a track like this and say that F3 doesn't fit, right? But then again, it's open wheel racing versus the top 10 racing, which is two different things, right? But it's going to be an interesting race for sure. I think I can see of sorts being more of a draft fast than anything else, especially going to the Mario Andretti straightaway and leading yourself to the S's. But then again, the break, hit or make it or break it, it will be going through turn number 1 and 2 and then down into the Moss Corner, which is turn number 5.
Challenge drivers are in for a huge challenge this afternoon. We're currently in week number 5 of the campaign. Watkins Glen, Snetterton, Suzuka, and Hockenheim in the rear view mirrors. We come to the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park with Laguna Seca, Donington, Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, Zandvoort, Sebring, Red Bull Ring, and Hungaroring on the horizon for this championship. And something else that is just a little bit different when it comes to this series. Also got to talk about the lap count. It has been changing throughout the season, and here this afternoon we're going to see these drivers go racing for 28 laps around the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. We saw 16 at Hockenheim Ring, 15 at Suzuka, 16 at Snetterton, and 20 at the Watkins Glen International Raceway. So the longest distance race in terms of lap count, Lorenzo, but this track is definitely not the largest when it comes to especially the tracks that I just named off.
No, it is not. It is the third. It is the third shortest track in length of the season. I think only the top notch goes to Donington Park because they're not going to use the full layout. The full layout adds basically a whole kilometer into it. It's basically 3 kilometers wide. This goes about 3.5 kilometers, 3.652 if I recall correctly. So getting every lap right counts over here. And then again, is one of those tracks that does have a lot of runoff areas because it is mainly composed of grass.
Only a little bit over 2 miles this track is in length. Time to take a look at the starting grid as we get ready to go racing here from virtual Canada. David Holland and Connor Wagner, 2 familiar faces at the front of the field. Thiago Spencer, Paulo Draitz, Tobias Olsen, and Connor Bell gonna round out the top 6. All familiar names. Jose Copland, Colin Chin, 2 familiar names as well. 7th and 8th with Josh McCall and Rod Clinard, your top 10. Jean-Christophe Trahan and Jay Cockrum on that 6th row. Going back from there, starting P13 is going to be Matthew Greenhall with Ari Corcodilos. Rui Henriquez rounding out the top 15 with Cody Grahams, Gerard Cabrera, and Pierre Borden rounding out the top 18. Jordi Sahi Latua on P19 with Dion De Leva, P20. Adam Illman with Rod McGuire, top 22 with Robert Ridgway and Kuji Ido. You're rounding out the top 24, and rounding out the entire field, it is going to be Merix Orlovs and Mercis Putniak. 26 drivers get ready to take the green flag here from virtual Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Like we mentioned in the open, a lot of challenges ahead for these drivers with not only the cars, but the track as well. And talking about this circuit used in the past, we mentioned IMSA, we mentioned the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. This track is going to provide a lot of challenges, and it's possible we could see some of the most exciting racing that we have seen all season long here tonight. 26 drivers will line up on the starting grid and be ready to go, barreling down into turn number 1. They'll go through 2 and 2A, otherwise known as Clayton Corner, then into turn 3, known as Quebec Corner, then turns 4, then 5A, 5B, and 5C, known as Moss Corner, down the Mario Andretti straightaway, and then into the S's and Whites Corner to round out the lap. We are racing from the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, and it's a great start for Holland. He gets the early jump. Wagner, Spencer, Olsen, Drates at the top 5 as they all race through. Drivers starting through the pit lane to try and avoid a bit of the first lap carnage as everybody continues to fight their way through side by side, middle of the pack, side by side at the front as Olsen goes to the inside of Spencer. Still side by side. Olsen spot, albeit by inches. That was close, and Spencer's around. Spencer makes contact with Drata. Teammates go slamming into the tire barrier.
That is disaster for Drata and Spencer right there. But it's a little bit of an aggression coming from Tobias Olsen. Coming out of turn number 2, blocking off the line out of 3, and now more carnage going to the Moss Corner. Again, Tobias Olsen is involved in the mix.
Olsen involved in an incident. Dion De Leva also in an incident. Back up to the front of the field. Holland and Wagner starting to pull away with Chin, Copland, and Clinard back from there, as Bell is going to get around Clinard for that 5th spot. What a wild start to this race, and teammates colliding into each other on the opening lap as Clinard and Bell continue to go side by side. More side by side action further back as we get a look at Sahi Latsua in a bit of a hornet's nest back here all around, just about P17 on the racetrack. They stay side by side, and
that's
over
Connor
into
Bell.
The grass goes. Yes, it is. Connor Bell goes around.
Yeah, Connor Bell going around on turn number 1, just losing the back end of the car into the turn, and then lost it completely, hitting very hard the tire barrier on its back.
Olsen's off now.
Yeah, it's all going wild right now.
Tobias Olsen into the wall. That number 10 machine comes to a complete stop. Olsen, Bell, Drata, Spencer, 4 big names of the Next Level Racing official F3 championship all got taken out in the first 2 laps. What a start here from Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. And who is this going to gift the lead to David Holland, gifting him just more of a gap at the front. Connor Wagner in P2, exactly how they started this race. And they are a solid 1.4 seconds ahead of Colin Chin now as they try and run away at the front. We go on to lap number 3, and we go back to the replay. This was the hornet's nest from the initial start. Let's see where all the carnage developed. Oh, Trahan just went right around a solo spin. One other driver goes into the barrier off of that one. Huge damage to them. Oh, no, it was Cabrera, maybe.
Oh.
Yes, it was. It was Cabrera. Gerard Cabrera in the 16 going into the barrier. And, of course, there was more issues. Here's the replay between Thiago Spencer and his teammate Paulo Drata.
Oh, looks like Spencer lost the car, and Drata got hit from the back, so couldn't avoid his teammate. And both drivers from EG Racing basically having their races blown off proportion. Now you can see Rod McGuire as well involved in this mix.
Rod McGuire with a good bit of damage, it looks like, or maybe he might have gotten away scot-free with no damage, even being in the middle of, it looked like, about 2 incidents there, and there was a couple more as they worked their way through Moss Corner. Here's the issue with Tobias Olsen. This is going through Moss. He just came out of 5A. And we haven't talked about Moss Corner yet. Really, we haven't had a reason to, Lorenzo. Such an off-camber turn. Exactly what can happen to Tobias Olsen there. He just got a little bit loose. DeLeva getting a little bit loose going down through turn 4. But take a look at how harsh that incline is. Multiple drivers getting involved in this one. But with such a harsh incline on the apex, gets these cars upset. You got to be careful.
Yeah, you got to be careful. I think it is the hardest corner for you to make in this track, without a doubt, because what happens is you just come off of a roller coaster into a left-hand downhill corner, and you immediately have to basically hit the car on the brake. As we see Connor Bell's car, the incident on the end in lap number 1 going to 2, his car hitting off the tire barrier after losing the back end of the car. Wheel gets a little bit loose as well, but after that, once you hit that back end, it's all down by the count, and now you can see Olsen hitting the inside barrier out of turn number 1.
So that was a good bit, I believe a little bit north of 7, 8 incidents in the first 2 laps of this race. Some wild stuff to begin the night. And there goes Jean-Christophe Trahan and going right on by Cody Grams, Pierre Borden in this fight as well. And do got to give a shout out to our producer tonight, Hugo Louise, giving us some great replays, making the replay machine work a bit of overtime here as we work our way on to lap number 5 of the night. Battle for 8th is on between Trahan, Grams, Borden, and you can count in Rod McGuire, who's a little bit off the pace of this group. But here comes Pierre Borden trying to make a move on Cody Grams. Going to be an easy one at that. Borden up into P9, but Graham's not trying to give it up. Just about inches away from each other as they race down the hill through turn 4.
Now going to Moss Corner right here, Bourdon is going to have the line so he can defend from Grams right here. But then is the tricky braking zone going to Moss Corner, right, Joshua? Because it is an uphill left-hander 90-degree turn, right-hander 90-degree turn, and it's easy for you to get offline, especially during the transition of the first corner. But then Mario Andretti straight. Now here goes Graham on the outside.
Side by side, Cody Grams trying to work his way back by Pierre Borden. Exactly what is going to happen. He barely gets in front of him as well here. But he does get in front of him. He will protect off that spot. But goes to show just how close these battles can get. He only had a couple of feet to make that move. And Grams was able to shut that door, get right on by Pierre Borden in to go up into P number 9. Borden back into P10 on the racetrack. Things definitely starting to calm themselves down after a hectic first couple of laps of contact. Grams is into the barrier. That was hard contact with Pierre Borden that sends him into the barrier and into the pit lane side by side between DeLeva and Putnix as they go through turn 4.
But somehow, what a 360 spin out of Putnix to keep it on track on the outside. Lost 3 places, but what an amazing car control.
A perfect 360 just about, and is able to keep on going. Here's the incident with Putnix. They went into turn 4. Believe got a little bit too much on the grass, and look at that, just a perfect 360. And able to keep going back the right way. Wonderful maneuver from Putnix to keep on going, and it looked like that incident between Borden and Graham having a little bit of connection issues ultimately led to some contact being made, and so unfortunate for Cody Grams. He was fighting really well in that fight. Right now 21st through 26th sit in the pit lane, Paulo Drayton and Josh McCall. After a quick visit to the pit lane, they're both back out on the racetrack. Henriquez and Corkel Delos both started from the pit lane on the start and are currently 10th and 15th. So I think that very good from both of those drivers and a good choice to start from the pit lane. They were able to get a little bit of a slower start and be able to miss all that opening lap carnage as Robert Ridgway fighting to hold on to P14, trying to catch up to Dion DeLeva as well with Henriquez and Putnix in tow.
Yeah, and you can see the drivers, as you see now, Jan-Christoph Trahan making the move on Matthew Greenhall on the entry of the S's, basically sealing the deal on the outside. And the number 13 car moves up one spot and heading to P number 7, but far a ways back from Jay Cochran, right about 2.5 seconds from the other driver, as Trahan actually does the fastest lap of the race.
110.318 is the time that these drivers are trying to chase if they want to walk away with that fastest lap. No bonus points, but is a very good thing to have. If to have that fastest lap, have a little bit of a confidence boost with it as well. As we go into roughly about 20 laps to go, some odd as Ortovs is off the racetrack. Merrick's Orlovs off and into the barrier. He overcooked it. I believe that's in turn 3 Quebec corner, and a huge hit to the tires.
Yeah, overcooked it completely on the braking zone of turn number 3 into Quebec, and nothing he could do right there. The car just veers off violently into the tire barrier, hits hard on the left-hand side. It's race over for Orlovs right there. It's unfortunate. He was having a decent race so far, found himself back up a few spots, as now David Holland, the race leader, does the fastest lap of the race.
David Holland, what a run it has been for him and the Delta Sport team this season. Looking to keep the momentum going here from Virtual Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Once again, after the opening lap carnage, things have definitely calmed themselves down. We take a little bit of a breather as we have 20 laps to go here from Virtual Mosport. Still Holland at the front, Wagner P2, Shane Copland, Clinard top 5, Cockrum, Trahan, Greenhill, Borden, and Corcodilos, your top 10 on the racetrack. Closest gap looks to be the gap between 11th and 12th, 15 and 25 on the racetrack. Adam Illman and Dion De Leva. As we look at the number 24 machine of Marcus Putniks working his way through 5A, 5B, and 5C. Now working his way down the Mario Andretti straightaway. And technically 2 corners in this straightaway as well, turn 6 and 7. They're working their way through 7 now, and they'll get set up for turn 8. Issue for Rod McGuire going through Moss Corner, and same thing we have seen a couple of times today, Lorenzo. That car just getting a little bit upset going through the uphill corner of 5A.
Yeah, because you want to carry as most speed as you can and not rely way too much in the braking, heading through 5A to 5B. And unfortunately, you can see right there, McGuire car just went way too hot into 5A and couldn't carry the speed that he wanted to, and breaking it down in time and spinning around in between both corners.
Battle for 11th is on, with Dion De Leva leading the way. Adam Illman, Robert Ridgway, and Marcus Putniks, your 4 drivers here in the battle for P11. On board now with Adam Illman, trying to catch up to De Leva. Solid 6/10 in between these two, and he's still within that slipstream distance, Lorenzo, that he can tow up to the car in front. Once you get to about 8/10 to a full second away from that car in front, you can basically kiss him goodbye. That slipstream just stops working for you, and it is very difficult to catch the driver in front without them making some sort of mistake on the racetrack.
Yeah, or you're really, really fast and doing like qualifying paced laps for you to get closer. But in a track like this, it's very difficult because you're so within the edge of hitting the going off the track or making the best lap you can all race long. It's so thin, but I mean so thin that it's easy for you to lose control and end your race. So it will take a human effort for you to make an overtake, as now Ridgway is under the fence.
Having pressure from Putniks and Henriquez behind. Putniks to the inside in 5A. Can't get there, but the 18 of Ridgway goes wide. That's going to open the door for the 24. He's not able to get the move done. They're still side by side. What a recovery from Ridgway there. Looked like he might have lost it for a moment as Putnik steps to the outside. Side by side down the Marco Andretti straightaway. as they go into turn number 8 now, still side by side, but Putnick's able to get the move made. Ridgeway now to P14. Enriquez watching this all happen in his front, trying to catch up to this group to get into P13, but Putnick's now trying to run away from Ridgeway. Can be pretty difficult. Ridgeway has some solid speed. Last time by, Ridgeway was only about a tenth slower. Let's see what he can do as they work their way through 2 and 2A.
Yeah, and now outside of 2A, going to Quebec corner out of number 3. Ridgeway trying to get himself a better launch out of the turn. Going to turn number 4, but apparently Putnick's had a really good run right here. And Enriquez on the previous lap tried to go for the move on Ridgeway, trying to, you know, be the opportunistic guy and claw himself one spot up, but got shut down pretty tightly into the entry of the S's.
Let's see if we can reopen that door. As Putnick holds him off even with the slipstream, not going to be enough for Ridgeway to be able to make a move. Enriquez not able to make a move either. Ridgeway stepped to the outside. It looked like he might have wanted to try something, could not make it work. So Putnick will keep on to P13 for the moment. Robert Ridgeway, P14, trying to catch back up to him. As there's a bit of talking over the iRacing voice chat over some drivers getting a little bit annoyed they're not being let by to be able to race with drivers up in the front. Ridgeway and Putnick's continuing to fight on the racetrack. And it looks like that is Coco Dios that is over the iRacing voice chat, annoyed at Pierre Borden that he's not letting him go by to be able to catch the cars in front. Here comes Coco Dios to try and go by. He cannot get by Borden, but here's the challenging part of this. He is faster than Pierre Borden by a solid amount. Now he goes to the outside. Borden's not letting him go, and barely able to make that move work is the 20.
Wow, what an aggressive overtake. And I honestly, they nearly touched tires by the millimeters. They avoided each other, and Corcodilos managed to make the move. But the thing is, Corcodilos wanted to move up a spot, and they have Draeta not far behind him, and Draeta looked like he's the faster driver. And they want to try to make up some ground and try to get closer to Massey Greenall, but they're 5 seconds away.
Side by side, we're getting a great look at multiple battles on the racetrack here. Left side of your screen, that's the battle between Pierre Borden and Dion De Leva. Right side of your screen, that is battle between Enriquez and Ridgeway. So as they continue to fight, we enter about halfway done with this race. And you can see really, Corco Dios did pull away from Borden after that move was made. Now Borden is under pressure from Dion De Leva as they race their way down the Mario Andretti straightaway. De Leva going for a move, just cannot get it made, and Borden's going to hold on to that spot.
No, because, well, Borden, even though he is the slower car of the bunch, he's in the lead lap, so he's not obligated to give room to Draeta to go through and put two cars between them. Plus, this is a track that can give some aero wise, so it's complicated for you to get the time back once you get into the aero wise, especially through some of these fast turns.
Through the final corner, battle between two more drivers on the racetrack. These are Josh McCall and Rod McGuire, two drivers who have been in issues so far tonight. They're trying to bounce their way back as McCall and McGuire continue to fight for P17. McCall pulling away a good bit. Last time by was a solid 7/10 faster than McGuire, so he's picking up a good bit of time, trying to catch up to the drivers in front of him, as well as McCall sitting a bit stagnant, currently P17. And we look at the battle for P13 on the racetrack as Putnick's now under a bit of pressure from Enriquez, who's able to get around Ridgeway. Can Enriquez get around Putnick's as well? Side by side, they work their way through turn 7 down the Mario Andretti straightaway. Enrique's gonna have a bit of his nose in front, but Putnieks has the inside advantage. That's all the 24 needed. He's gonna hold on to P13 as they work their way through the S's, through turn 9 and through White's corner of turn 10. And right back to the front straightaway. Putnieks gonna hold on to P13. We see a handful of drivers take a trip into the dirt.
Yeah, but, and I like this kind of a battle because everybody, I mean, these two drivers gave so much room to one another. They wanted to avoid a crash going into the S's that kind of allowed Putnieks to get a really good run into the entry of the S's, carry it as much speed as you possibly can. There's a car stop in the track. I don't know who that was, but it was from iRacing apparently, towed back to the pits. But nevertheless, really interesting battle between both guys, very respectful.
Trying to stay on the racetrack and keep this battle going. We have seen plenty of harsh moves be made so far this afternoon, and we have seen plenty of carnage so far this afternoon as well. Don't think that is exactly done yet, as we do still have a couple of battles to run on the racetrack. As we get a good look at the number 1 machine there, sorry, the number 11 machine of Rui Henriquez, trying to catch back up to Putnieks, but just cannot get there. And Putnieks is putting in some decent lap times, but the last couple of times by, Henriquez has been a good bit quicker. Last time by, 2/10 faster for Henriquez. Just cannot catch up and get that pass made. Even with the slipstream down the Mario Andretti straightaway, just doesn't have enough. Putnieks is using some really good defensive tactics, especially down that long straightaway.
It also is all about that respect again, that these cars can be somewhat of a sensitive car if you get into some kind of contact. Some people get into some damage or racing damage contact. So it's like this. Try to give yourself way too much room, especially through the S's. You're basically compromising yourself at the entry, especially on the outside, and you cannot carry their turn into the second. The speed into the second part of the turn, and I think Enriquez needs to be a little bit more aggressive if he wants that spot.
Only about 11 laps to go now, and as Holland works his way through Moss Corner, we'll very quickly be at 10 laps to go here from the virtual Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Here's the battle once again between Putnieks and Henriquez, trying to get that spot as Henriquez just cannot get there. And it's the same story, different laps, still faster than Putnieks is Henriquez, just cannot get close enough to get that move made. They fight for P13 on the racetrack currently. Close battle between Cockrum and Trahan, currently on the racetrack for 6th place as they race into turn number 7. Here's the two of them in the battle, the 23 and the 13, as they go through turns 8, 9, and 10. Only about 4/10 separating these drivers as Trahan tries to put on the afterburners and get further up into the top 10 after already fighting from P11. He's up 4 spots from where he started, up in a P7 right now.
Yeah, and really good start so far from Trahan, basically a Canadian native, as now Enriquez tries the outside again and again and again, just cannot get through here, Joshua. And the thing is, does that, how much of frustration does that build up to a driver? Because once you can say, oh, I'll get him again. Twice you go like, why I cannot get him? I'll try one more time. 3rd time, you gotta be somewhat frustrated by now.
And that would be about 3rd, 4th, maybe 5th or 6th time for Enriquez now. Has to be just getting just ever so more annoyed with himself and with Putnieks in front, because Putnieks is putting on some great defense. Last time by was the first lap in a handful that Enriquez was just a little bit slower than Putnieks up in front, about 3/10 slower to be exact. exact, Putniks had been slower for a majority of the laps previously, not last time by. Still keeping Enriquez behind. He's got another opportunity here, but you can see the defense from the 24 protecting the inside line, forces the 11 to go the long way around the outside line. Could not even get there by the apex. Just fantastic defense from Putniks. He knows he has Enriquez's number through the more technical portions of this course, and then once he goes down the Mario Andretti straightaway, which is pretty much up to fate with the slipstream, he has that defense and can keep the 11 at bay.
Now I'm just wondering if the number 11 is trying to be way conservative, because I think he had the run prior into the entry of the S's and could have been very aggressive on the outside and try to maximize the entry into the corner. But it looks like he backed off a little bit the car and tried to be in line side by side into the entry of the S's, like make sure the car on the outside loses the edge instead of being the car on the inside that loses the edge in the first part of it.
In hot pursuit is the 11 as Jean-Christophe Trahin, I believe he and Greenhall might have just made a bit of contact. Greenhall was slow. Oh my, the 13. Oh. That's Jean-Christophe Trahin, just completely spins it around. Contact with one of the drivers to his outside, and I believe that was the 12 of Matthew Greenhall that came together.
Yeah, that was Greenhall that came together on the final turn. And you know what that did for him? Now Greenhall has to fend off from Crocodilos, but look at the replay once again. Losing the car and he tried to get back in line and couldn't see Greenhall moving in right there.
Luckily, not a ton of damage for Greenhall or Trahin. Trahin holds on a P7. Greenhall loses a bit of spots. He's now P9 on the racetrack. Both of them still in the top 10. Both of them are not in the pit lane. They will be able to finish this race, of course, assuming they do not have a penalty that they need to serve and come into the pit lane to get that damage fixed. 7 to go. We go back to the battle with Rui Henriquez in the number 11 in hot pursuit, trying to go to the outside. Can he get the move made by the apex? They are exactly side by side. Enriquez gets the nose out in front. Not enough. Coming through the winding left-hander of turn number 8 through the S's. He's going to need to be more aggressive if he wants to make that move, Lorenzo, because Putniks isn't giving him much of a break. He's protecting that inside line, but he needs to try and run more of the middle line through turn 8. He's going way to the outside and cutting in. Yeah. He needs to make sure he's not giving any room to Putniks on the inside.
I agree 100%, Josh, because that middle line looks like to be the better line. You can carry some speed into the entry of the S's and set yourself up to the second half of the corner. The thing is, you need to be efficient going through the corners right there. As Holland now nearly at the 110 flat, much better than his qualifying lap, by the way. But you can see now, Henriquez is going to gain the ground right here, might get side by side going to the S's. I'm thinking there might be some setup shenaniganery right here that might give Putniks the advantage going to the corners. He might have some more downforce, wing balance going to the corners that might benefit him a little bit more than Henriquez does.
Oh, Greenhall's around again. The number 12 goes around once more at the final corner. Just completely loses the car through turn 10. And he ends up backed up and into the pit wall. And that will be the end of the 12's run tonight. He tows it back into the pit lane. Yep. So unfortunate for Matthew Greenhall. A great run for him tonight. One of the faster drivers on the racetrack. One of the handful of drivers to go down into the 110s in terms of lap times tonight. And unfortunate to see the 12 machines race end up in the pits.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. David Holland now into the 109s, but here's the thing: is that wing? You know, the back wing just got offline, and it was a little bit bent to the side, not only in the top of the wing as well, and that is going to affect the balance out of the car, especially through some of these very tricky corners. And the last corner is a tricky corner because you kind of have to measure your foot off the ground. And Henriquez goes for the 12th attempt in this race.
To the outside. He actually made it work this time. What a run for Rui Henriquez up and into P12. He tried that move multiple times the exact same way, and this time he stepped out at the right moment, had enough speed carried through the corner. What a run from Henriquez, but his job isn't done. Here comes the defense. He blocks Putnieks from grabbing that 12th spot. We go on board with the number 24. What can he do now? Can he get back around Henriquez, or is this going to be the perfect hit for 11 to try and pull away?
And you can see a little bit of arrow wash in the middle of the turn. The car just fully understeers, kneeling into the gravel, and he had to lift off the gas a little bit and allows the Portuguese driver to open up a little bit of the ground, and now fumbles up the corner out of 5B out of Moss, and now the gap is a little bit of a distance. Full second separates both cars, but Putniek's still not out of this one.
Far from out of it as we take a look at Josh McCall, who's watching this battle happen in front of him. He might have an opportunity to get by Putnieks here. You can see the interval slowly creeping down to about 3/10 now as they go through the S's. But McCall might have an opportunity to get himself further up the order. He started P9 after incidents and a trip to the pit lane. Currently sits P14, trying to catch his way back up. Out in front, still David Holland that leads the way. Wagner, Chin, Complin, and Clinard, the current top 5. Familiar names when it comes to that top 5, but some unfamiliar ones as we go down from there. Cockrum, Try, and Corcadios, Borden, DeLeva, and Illman. Or DeLeva, excuse me, rounding out your top 10. Illman in P11. Henriquez, Putnieks. I believe that ends the solid 7 drivers who we have not seen much from, if at all, this season of the Next Level Racing official F3 Championship. Great to see some new names grabbing the steering wheel and getting on the track here in the sim. Here comes McCall. Look at the run. It's right, Lorenzo. Beautiful slipstream and a beautiful pass from McCall, making it look easy. He had that pass made before they even committed to the corner. Yeah, and
that is textbook overtake right there from McCall. What a move, and I mean, what a move. Just sealing down on the outside and not giving any room for a comeback out of Putnieks. Jumped up a few spots, but hey, what a race from Putnieks that he's having so far. And we probably can see a little bit of a battle for P4, but the gap now widened nearly over a second between Complin and Glennar.
It'll be 2 to go at the line this time, and it looks like Trine might have gotten himself into another incident on the racetrack through 5B. Yeah, exact same thing, getting loose up 5A in Moss Corner and got himself spun around at 5B. There's the spin. And able to rejoin relatively simply. Tires are going to be a little bit overheated now, but here is the battle. Here comes McCall to the inside of Henriquez. He's able to get to the inside. Henriquez left the door open. That is not what he needed to do as Josh McCall works his way back up into P12. Henriquez left the door open on the inside. He did the opposite of what Putnieks was doing to him all that time when they were battling with 2 to go. Josh McCall is looking at a P12 finish as Henriquez wonders what he could have done coming down the Mario Andretti straightaway to protect that spot.
Looking like there's nothing that Henriquez could have done in his position right there. Now, I think Putnieks have a little bit of an issue because now Ridgeway made the overtake. Let's look at the replay. What happened to Putnieks basically losing the car control. Oh, Lord, into the transitions of the S's.
He just straight up lost that car going through turn 8.
Yeah.
Bit of a weird thing to see, but the final lap is out. White flag for David Holland at the front of the field, and a dominating day for Holland, leading since the offset here at Virtual Mosport. Fantastic run for Holland, and we have seen this Delta Sport team just be so dominant when it comes to the F3 cars throughout this season. And David Holland is looking to come away a winner as Jose Copland might have had a bit of an issue. It looks like coming through turn number 3. He just lost that car coming through the apex of that corner. Unfortunate for Copland. He'll stay in the top 5, but through turn 8, and he'll be coming back to the front straightaway. Looking to put yet another win in the win column this season for Delta Sport. David Holland victorious at Mosport after a dominating 28-lap performance, leading since the drop of the green.
Wow, what an effort from David Holland in this race. Full total dominance out of the number 1 car in this split. The Texan driver giving no room for error for the other drivers to get closer. Conor Wagner tried. His teammate from Delta Sport tried it and tried his best, but nearly 4 seconds away. What a dominant drive from the American. And Delta Sport, I think they have a week to remember because it is 1st, 2nd, and 4th place for the team.
A great run for Delta Sport, and take a look at the battle down the back straightaway. Henriquez versus Tryon. Henriquez is going to power his way around for P12 as they come to the stripe through the final couple of corners, and it's all going to be Rui Henriquez. He cannot get a top 10, but he'll salvage a P12 as Tryon takes a trip through the grass, and Marcis Putniks, unfortunate end to his day, P15 at the line, but he did have some amazing fights on the racetrack and started dead last, P26. A great run up into P15, up 11 spots from where the 24 started.
Yeah, I mean, as we look towards the race result, coming from 28-6 and finishing P15, that's commendable.
Great effort for Putniks as David Holland grabs the win. Conor Wagner, Colin Chin, Rod Clinard, and Jose Copland the top 5. Jay Cockrum, another great run for him. 23rd in the numbers. Half the iRating of the drivers up in front, like it was pointed out in our chat room. Up a decent amount of spots from P12 from where he started on the night. Eric Cocodillos in P7, Pierre Borden, Dion DeLeva, and Adam Illman, your top 10. Josh McCall, Rui Henriquez, John Christoph Trahan in P13. Robert Ridgway and Marcus Putniks rounding out your top 15. Kuji Aido, Rod McGuire, everybody back from here, getting caught up in at least one or multiple incidents tonight. Matthew Greenhall, Merrick Ortlovs, Cody Graham's your top 20. As we go further back from there, Paulo Dreta, Thiago Spencer, Connor Bell, Tobias Olsen, Jordi Sahalatua, and Gerard Cabrera. That rounds out the running order here from Virtual Mosport, and it was a lot of carnage, Lorenzo. A lot of drivers making contact with one another, but at the end of the day, we also saw some great battles that we could take with us in the remaining rounds of the Next Level Racing Official F3 Championship.
Absolutely. We saw a very good banger of a race, especially in the mid-pack, right? I think the mid-pack provided us the most action in the field. I think we haven't seen way too much of action in the top 5. Top 10, we did see some action, but that midfield provided us with action from start to finish, and it just proves that Mosport is a challenge for the drivers, I think, regardless of what season it is. I've driven this track, I think, back in season 1 or 2020 season 4, and it is a challenge. And we saw over here how much of a snake this track can be for the unprepared drivers.
Well, these drivers are definitely not going to have that challenge go away when we go to the next round of the Next Level Racing Official F3 Championship from Virtual Laguna Seca. We go from Canada over to California, and then Donington Park, Circuit des Spa, Francorchamps, Zandvoort, Sebring, Red Bull Ring, and Hungaro Ring to round out this 12-week season of iRacing 2020 Season 4. We go to the desert of California in 1 week's time at Virtual Laguna Seca. Make sure you catch all the action. Same time, 5:15 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on RaceSpotTV to catch the top split of this time slot for the Next Level Racing Official F3 Championship. And remember, you can race the Next Level Racing Official F3 Championship Class C Road iRacing license, and you can take part in this series every 2 hours. For Lorenzo Bonder in the commentary booth, for Hugo Louise down in the virtual production trailer, my name is Joshua Lee. Thank you for tuning into live coverage of the Next Level Racing official F3 Championship from virtual Mosport, and we'll see you in 1 week's time from virtual Laguna Seca as the championship continues.